My name is Adam Fournier, and I am an award-winning bartender and mixologist here in Los Angeles, California, where I've designed and run bar programs for nearly a decade now. I have traveled the world shaking and stirring drinks, but today I'm going to help you make a few cocktails in my absolute favorite place, the comfort of my own home with the Thermomix. Part of the beauty of a well-crafted drink is the knowledge and skill of someone else making it for you. With the Thermomix TM6, all of that skill, knowledge, and beauty of a world-class cocktail bar is transferred directly to your kitchen countertop. It really is an all-in-one kitchen device and bartending tool. Not only does it replace all of my standard bartending equipment, it also replaces at least half a dozen other kitchen devices that I would use for the preparation of all the ingredients for those cocktails. With the Thermomix TM6, world-class culinary cocktails are just a few simple steps away. Now, the key to a truly great culinary cocktail is consistency and attention to detail. I cannot tell you the number of times I have seen a drink screwed up from an inaccurate pour or a rushed composition. The foolproof nature of the Thermomix and the Cook I Do recipe database, combined with the built-in functionality of the TM6, means that all the skills and knowledge of a world-class bartender are yours at the push of a button. All right, now it's time to get started. But, unfortunately, before we can even think about making drinks, we have to do every bartender's least favorite part of the job, prep work. Now, part of what sets culinary cocktails apart from the group is the quality of their ingredients. You need to remember that a drink is only ever going to be as good as the worst ingredient in the mix. You can have the best spirit in the world and it won't make a lick of difference if you're mixing it with 3-day-old lime juice. So along those lines, I always make my own syrups and mixers. I'm going to help walk you through 3 basic bar staples that will help jazz up any of your at-home cocktails and will keep under refrigeration for several weeks as long as you're doing everything right. So, we're going to start with the most basic of the basics, a simple syrup. This is essentially sugar water. And simple water goes in many, many, many cocktails. We like to use simple syrup for consistency. It pours easier, it mixes more consistently, and we always know the exact amount of sugar that's going into a drink to balance out any acid or citrus that's present. So for that, we want to make sure that we are always being consistent, which is also why, if you notice the screen here, I'm going to be working in metric for all of these recipes. This allows for a much tighter conversion of solid to liquid ingredients when measuring. We're also going to be making all of these recipes by weight. This again ensures consistency across the board and prevents any mistakes. It's part of the foolproof nature of this device and leads directly into my favorite part of the Thermomix for making cocktails at home. It's built-in scale. There's no more guesswork, and it's the best thing I've ever encountered in a long time. So, to get started with this simple syrup, we're going to start by going to our scale and weighing out, after we tare it, we're going to weigh out 200 grams of sugar. Got a little bit under there. Always come prepared with backup. Now, once we get our 200 grams in there, wonderful. We're going to tare our scale, which means that we're zeroing it out. All the weight in there is now accounted for and won't affect any other measurements. And now we're going to add 200 grams of filtered water. There we go. Now we're going to lock our lid in place, go back to exit out our scale. Now I'm back. We're going to set our timer to 2 minutes. Set our temperature to 70 and our speed to 4. Now, we want just a little bit of heat while we're making this syrup. We want to make sure that we're fully incorporating the sugar, but we're also not looking to actually boil the water. Boiling water will actually change the physical composition of sugar, thus altering the flavor. We don't want that, but a little bit of heat will help make sure that it's fully incorporated and you don't have any sugar granules left on the bottom of your device. Now our syrup has been fully incorporated. We're going to take it and we're going to strain it into a clean glass container. We always want to strain any of our ingredients just to make sure we don't have anything left over. And once this is strained out, we can store this in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks and use it for a variety of different cocktails. This simple syrup will allow you to make old fashions, mojitos, daiquiris, gimlets. The list goes on and on and on. In addition to that, it also gives you a wonderful baseline to start making what we sometimes refer to as fancy syrups. These are syrups that add just a little extra element onto this basic sugar syrup, like the next syrup we have up for you today, our raspberry syrup. Next up on our prep list is our raspberry syrup. This is what we like to call fancy syrup, in that it's slightly fancier than your basic simple syrup that we just made. Despite the different names, we're going to start with the exact same base. So we're going to go back over to our scale, and we are going to start with 200 grams of sugar again, right on in there. Now we're going to tear that out. Again, tearing means that we're zeroing out the weight that's already in the scale so that all the ingredients that are accounted for are measuring in with our next ingredients. Now we are going to add 200 grams of filtered water. Perfect. Now we're going to tear it out one more time. And now for this syrup, we're going to add 100 grams of fresh raspberries. Now again, this is why we like to work in weight, not by volume. It makes for the consistency of swapping back and forth between solid ingredients and liquids ingredients that much easier. Now, we're going to come back to our screen. We're going to set our timer to 2 minutes. We're going to set our temperature to 70 degrees Celsius. Remember, we are working in metric for all of these recipes to make it easier and consistent going back and forth. And our speed to 4. Now, one of the reasons, as I keep saying, we keep working in metric for these ingredients is about the ease of going between solid and liquid ingredients. That's one of the reasons why the built-in scale to the Thermomix is so wonderful. Normally this process would take me about 7 or 8 different vessels, going back and forth between scales, measuring things out, drying things out. The foolproof nature of this machine means I can do all just in one single machine in one mixing bowl. Now the heating element here is also key for a syrup like this. Again, working in metric with Celsius to take out a lot of that math. We're looking for a consistent heat, not to cook the raspberries, but to help keep them fully incorporated into the syrup, just like we are with the sugar. We don't want that roasted cooked feel, we still want that bright, fresh raspberry taste. So this will be done in just another minute here. But again, that heating element is a huge part for why the Thermomix TM6 works so well for cocktails at home. It takes out a lot of this guesswork. There's no longer a guess about how hot this simmer is for how long it needs to go. It's precise and foolproof. Our syrup is now fully mixed. We're going to remove the lid. And now we are again going to fine strain our syrup through a mesh strainer. This removes any excess raspberry pulp. It also allows for easier pouring when we go to use this syrup later on. It also means that we're going to be able to keep this syrup for a longer period of time. We're again going to store this under clean glass bottle under refrigeration for up to 2 weeks. And what you're going to end up with is something that looks a lot like this. This syrup is a great addition to any home bartender's arsenal. With this simple swap on a classic cocktail like, say, a mojito, you now have a variation that's cocktail bar worthy and sure to impress any of your friends over your next Zoom happy hour. All right, now you've mastered the basics. We're going to try something a little more complex up next. Undoubtedly mastered those first 2 syrups, we're going to try something a little bit more challenging, and we're going to make a homemade ginger syrup. Now, ginger is notoriously hard to juice, but this syrup is something that I use in every single bar that I ever run instead of store-bought ginger beer, and the Thermomix TM6 saves me literally hours of prep in making this syrup. So, to get started, we're going to go back to our scale, set it to metric, and we're going to add 200 grams of peeled fresh ginger root to the mixing bowl. Now, we're going to tear the scale there. Again, that's just zeroing out the weight that's already in there. And we're going to add 200 grams of water. Once we have that in place, we're going to set our lid. We're going to scroll on back, set our timer to 1 minute. Nope. There we go. And our speed to 7. Now, the thing about ginger syrup is it's spicy and it goes a long way, and it is the key to any good ginger drink you've ever had. If you're like me, one of the first great cocktails you ever had at a cocktail bar is probably the Moscow Mule. If you ever wonder how they made it that spicy, that delicious, well, this syrup right here, that's the secret to it. It's also the perfect base for a penicillin. The uses for this are wide and varied. You can even make your own homemade ginger beer. If you're going to want to dial that in, I'd recommend starting with 3/4 ounce of this finished syrup to 1/2 ounce of lime juice, shaken and topped with soda water. We're going to give this another few seconds, finish finely chopping this ginger. Now our ginger and water should be fully blended together and incorporated. You can see that you got a lot of your pulp hanging out on top there. We are now going to fine strain this ginger and water. So you're going to take a fine mesh sleeve, grab your mixing bowl, and you're going to pour this pulpy mixture right on through here. Now what you're going to end up with is a lot of pulp left over inside of your mesh strainer. So what you're going to do is you're then going to take the spatula from the Thermomix and you're going to gently press on that. You see how that's going to pull out a lot of that extra juice? You're going to continue this process until you've extracted all of the juice from the pulp in your strainer. Then you're going to discard it and keep going until you've collected all the liquid from the ginger. Right, now that we have collected all of our fresh, spicy ginger juice, we're going to sweeten this up just a touch. So we're going to go back to our basic recipes that we learned earlier. We're going to go back to our scale and we're going to add 200 grams of sugar. Once that's in there, we don't need to worry about tearing this one. We know exactly how much ginger we have in here. We're going to add our ginger juice right into the bowl. We're going to lock our lid in place, set our time to 2 minutes, our temperature to, again, 70 degrees Celsius, and our speed to 4. Now remember, what we're trying to do here with this heating element is to fully dissolve the sugar and incorporate into the liquid. We're not looking to cook anything or change any of the flavors. Our speed set to 4 because unlike with the full ginger root, we're looking to just mix this. We're not looking to chop up any of the pulp. This is now back to a gentle mixing process. Once this is done, you're going to fine strain again, just like we did with the raspberries, and you're going to bottle it. This will keep in your refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. Now you've got the perfect tool to whip out Moscow Mules or homemade ginger beer whenever your heart desires. All the prep is out of the way, who's ready to finally make some cocktails? All right, the first drink that we're going to make today is going to be the coconut cucumber cooler, found right here in the Cook I Do recipe database built right into your Thermomix TM6. Now, at first glance, you might ask yourself, wait, it doesn't look like there's any alcohol in this cocktail. And you'd be 100% correct. Part of what I love about this recipe is that it makes a delicious non-alcoholic base. And the base itself is so delicious that you can easily jazz it up with your favorite spirit while still providing a non-alcoholic beverage for any of your friends or family members that choose not to imbibe. So for this recipe, we're going to be following right along with the recipe built right here in Cook I Do. Hopefully you've collected all of your ingredients. If you haven't, please remember that you can order them right through your Thermomix by going to your shopping list in Cook I Do. Just add your recipe, pick your favorite retailer, and it'll be delivered right to your house. It's the perfect tool for your home bartending arsenal or even just your home cooking needs. All right, now let's get started on this recipe, shall we? So first, we need 3 ounces of sugar. So unlike the other recipes, this is not my recipe, so we'll be working in the imperial system, but it's good to show that anyone can follow along with the foolproof nature of the recipes here in the Cook I Do app. So now we have our sugar. Move on to our next. We need 10 to 15 fresh mint leaves. Forage these ourselves. Put that back. Lock the mixing, put the mixing cup into the lid. Then we move on. We're going to set our speed to 10 for 5 seconds to fully chop and dice this. And off we go to the races. Easy enough. All right. Next up, we are going to add 16 ounces of fresh diced cucumber. Add that right into our bowl. Next up, we're going to add 32 ounces of coconut water. Nice steady pour. With liquid ingredients, it's very easy to over pour without even noticing. And this is a very large recipe. It serves 6 people. Grab my next bottle. Fantastic. Spot on. All right. Now we need 4 ounces of fresh lime juice. And then next, we're going to put our lid back on with our mixing cup inserted on. Now we're going to be going for 20 seconds at speed 7 to fully dice and incorporate everything that's now in our mixing bowl. Nice. A little more aggressive than what we're doing, but we're looking to incorporate all those solid ingredients that we've added in here. To end up with a delicious, bright, fresh flavor when we're all said and done. And it's going to be that perfect addition to any of your end of summer, early fall gatherings or social distancing meetings. All right. Now that that is done, you're going to take this mixture, you're going to put it into an airtight container, and you're going to set it in your refrigerator for 2 hours, and we'll be sitting here waiting for the entire time. Just kidding. I'm going to go put this in the refrigerator. We'll be right back. We have our coconut cucumber cooler all nice, chilled, and strained. So following along with the recipe on Cook I Do, we're going to pour 5 ounces over our ice into our glass, prepped with our beautiful cucumber ribbon wrapped around the side of the glass. And then we are going to top that with just a little bit of soda water. Now this drink is perfect for anyone looking for a summertime cooler or just something non-alcoholic to imbibe with the rest of their friends. But for my preferences, and for I assume many of you hanging out at home, we're going to make this beverage a little bit more adult by adding 1.5 ounces of premium vodka. Now we're using vodka here, but this drink will work equally well with gin, unaged tequila, unaged rum. Just whatever your favorite spirit is. I would stay away from anything that's been oak aged though. The tannins now won't necessarily pair up with the bright, fresh flavors here. We're going to add another 5 ounces of our cooler. Top it with just a splash of soda water. And then as a final garnish, we are going to add a mint pluche, which is really just a fancy way of saying a mint bush, tucked right in there next to our ice and our cucumber. And there you go. You have a beautiful, wonderful coconut cucumber cooler. Let's give it a try, shall we? Oh, that's great. Wonderfully delicious, nice and refreshing, and that mint right there in your nose really helps carry that flavor through all the way down. All right. We're going to walk through how to make an original cocktail that I designed for the Thermomix TM6, a banana daiquiri. Now, I think that one of the best drinks you can possibly have on a warm summer day is a daiquiri. And no matter what modern pop culture might try to tell you, a daiquiri is not always a blended drink. The original classic is a very, very delicate balance of quality rum, fresh lime juice, and sugar. It's something that is very easy to mess up, and thanks to the foolproof nature of the Thermomix, combined with its mighty mixing ability, we're going to be able to give the home user both the original bright daiquiri feeling mixed with that frozen blended idea with just a touch of fresh ripe banana to really elevate this cocktail. We're going to start with this drink, and this drink is designed to make 2 servings, because I don't know about you, but when I'm making cocktails, I like to share it with someone. But the beauty of this recipe is that it can easily be scaled down for a single serving or up to 4 servings, whatever you need for the situation. If you haven't noticed by now, only about 5% of bartending is actually making drinks. The other 95% is prep and math. All right, so let's get started. I do recommend that for this recipe, the best results will come if all of your ingredients are already pre-chilled, but that's not a requirement. All right, first up, you're going to tare your scale and start with 60 grams of fresh juiced lime. You're going to tear that up. And then next up, you are going to have 50 grams of that 1-to-1 simple syrup we made earlier today. Make sure that your scale is not bouncing around on you, nice and zero. Again, we are looking for accuracy and consistency. And there we go. Next up, we're going to add 110 grams of high quality aged rum. In this case, we do want an aged rum because we do want those lovely oaky vanilla notes that come from the barrel to play with the banana that we're going to be adding into this cocktail. And again, we're working in weight instead of volume because we are playing with both liquid and solid ingredients. Next up, the all-important ingredient for a banana daiquiri, 100 grams of fresh sliced ripe banana. Add that all right in there. Now, the real key for this ingredient is your ice. You need dilution, you need that coldness, so we're going to add 50 grams of ice directly into our mixing bowl. It's a little bit open, but that's going to be fine. All right. Now we're going to set our lid in place. We are going to set our time to 1 minute. And our speed to 7. This is going to be real loud for a moment, so just sit back and relax. Now, the daiquiri originated in the heyday of American tourism in Cuba. In fact, it happens to be one of Ernest Hemingway's favorite drinks at the La Floridita bar in Cuba. If you notice that recipe, though, if you look up the Hemingway daiquiri, you'll notice that it calls for grapefruit juice. Part of the reason it does that is because Hemingway thought he was a diabetic, so he didn't want any sugar, so he switched out the juice a little bit. But then also added in Luxardo Maraschino, which does have sugar. Also, the fruit in Cuba, funny enough, has a different pH balance than the limes that we're traditionally used to here in the United States. So if you're looking for a drink that was similar to what Ernest Hemingway would have been drinking along the beaches in Cuba, you have to sub in that grapefruit juice. It's another great variation you should try sometime after you've mastered your banana daiquiri at home. We've got another few seconds, so we're going to grab our glassware and set it up right here in front of us. And 4, 3, 2, 1, and here's the lovely noise. Love that sound. All right. You can stop, pull it out, and the beauty of this drink is that it's fully aerated, mixed, and incorporated. You can pour it directly into your glass with your lovely, frothy, bright, airy, delicious banana daiquiri. Pour it out, set down your mixing bowl, and enjoy before you set to your self-clean mode. Go ahead and give it a sip. Magic. And there you have it, the joys of an award-winning cocktail bar in the comfort of your own home, thanks to the mighty mixing powers and user-friendly nature and equipment replacing power of the Thermomix TM6. Please check back the Thermomix and the Cook I Do recipe database. They're adding new recipes all the time. I'm certainly experimenting all the time. My name is Adam Fournier. I hope to join you for another cocktail soon. Cheers.